Hello and welcome to Iridium Rock and Metal Reviews. So today is album review time. So big shout out to John Cassandro for contacting me and asking me to review this album. Let's tell you a little bit about the band. So the band are called Deny the Fallen and the album's called Symptoms of Eternity. Came out in 2018. So it's not a new album, but you know, that's cool. I haven't heard it before, so let me tell you a bit about the band. So even though it's a new band, they got some real pedigree in this band, and a lot of you guys who listen to this channel will know some of these names. So you've got Ray Parra, ex-Sacred Warrior vocalist. You got Jonathan Johnson, ex-Sacred Warrior guitarist, and he's the songwriter, primary songwriter on this album. You've got Josh Johnson on the drums, son of Jonathan. You've got Eric Keir on the bass, and you've got Jeffrey Rankin on the guitar. Now I think Jeffrey Rankin joined the band after this album was made, so Harbour Halton is the actual guitarist on the record, I believe. So what does this band sound like? They're heavy, they're aggressive, they're a little progressive. They have got elements of classic metal. They're definitely metal. They are metal. And like I said, they are heavy. Comparing them to other bands, if you want to know what they sound like, well, they've got tinges of, like, you know, little snippets of older bands, you know, classic metal bands. But I can hear quite a bit of Pantera in there. You know, we're talking aggressive music here, but we're talking with melody, you know, and you guys know me, I wouldn't be reviewing this if it was an extreme metal album. It's not. So it's like, you know, there's lots of different elements to this band. They've got brilliant breakdowns, real heavy breakdowns within the songs. The songs change about. There's a lot of atmosphere in the songs. There's guitar solos throughout. Only a couple of the songs missing a guitar solo, and the guitar solos are pretty cool. There's even a bluesy type song on here, you know, elements of blues. I don't mean it's a blues song, but it's metal still, but with elements of blues. So, you know, there's a lot of different sort of variations, but even within a song on this. So, and like subtle melodies coming through, you know, some of the melodies, like I said, are very subtle. It's like I've listened to it a couple of times, and on the second listen, you can hear the melodies coming through. And I think spending time with this album is one of them albums where you like it at first, you really like it, but then melodies start to come through. So it's a grower as well. I'm going to play you a couple of little bits of songs, but let me just run through some of my favourite tracks on the album. Kicking off the album, a song called Oblivion. So I'm going to talk about the quality of these musicians as I talk about the songs, because they're great. They sound like they've been at it years. Well, some of them have, but they all sound so cohesive. And yeah, it really surprised me. You know, this doesn't sound like a debut album. It sounds like a band that have been at it for a while and honed their sort of sound. So Oblivion kicks it off. There's a small sort of 30-40 second intro kicking the album off, you know, one of those sort of eerie, sort of get you in the mood sort of intros. Then it kicks in with some really heavy riffs, and then you hear the vocals of Ray Parra. So his vocals have changed. So I've and not in a bad way. So I've listened to some Sacred Warrior, and first of all, as soon as I heard Sacred Warrior, I thought that sounds like Geoff Tate, Queensryche. You know, straight away the comparisons were there for me, and there's a lot of vocalists that sort of do sound a bit like Geoff Tate, you know. But on this album, he's like totally different. He's totally different. He's kept his voice. So yet again, an older singer, you know, from the late 80s, 90s, kept his voice and sings great on this. It really suits the music, it really does, but he really has sort of lost that Geoff Tate sort of sounding. I can hear John Bush out of Anthrax and Armored Saint. I really can hear John Bush on a lot of these songs. That's what I'm hearing. So on this first song, the drumming and the bass is mental. It is brilliant. So big shout out to Eric Carr on the bass, and Josh Johnson. The drumming and the bass on this are outstanding. The riffing on this song and throughout the album from Jonathan Johnson and I think Harbour Horton is great. It is so heavy, sort of down-tuned guitars. Like I said, that sort of Pantera, sort of sludgy sort of rhythm going on. Brilliant song to open up with, Oblivion. Another good song, next one, Mortem Amic. I think it transfers Friendship Dies. Real heavy lifts again, like double layered vocals on this, really cool. They do it a lot, like a double layer the vocals. I don't know if Ray Parra's doing both of them, like it sings deep and a higher. It really sounds cool. And there's a 2 minutes on here, 2 minutes 10 on here. There's a breakdown, proper Pantera style. You know, the band are probably going mental thinking I mentioned Pantera that much, but that's what it reminds me of, you know. There's no solo on this one, but there isn't on a couple of them. The next track's my favourite track on the album, and it was a single, Hands for War. The vocalist really, Ray Parra, really shows his strength on this one. I love this song. It does remind me of Armoured Saint, this one, and the great chorus, and I think it is the vocals more than anything, really making it sound like Armoured Saint. And also, excellent, Oz Fox appears on this song. Apparently he's friends with Jonathan Johnson, and I don't know if he's playing the lead guitar in this, but it's a great solo. Whoever plays it, it's a great solo. But yeah, he's guesting on Hands for War. I'm going to play you a bit of that song in a minute. You'll love it. Next one, one of my favourites, Symptoms of Eternity, which is the title track. Sort of a stuttering sort of guitar going on in the verses, and then it sort of lifts. The chorus sort of really lifts and it soars because of the stuttering sort of rhythm guitar. Really clever, the textures in the song, absolutely love it. The next one as well, Predator. This one, God, going to bring out the Pantera mentions again. Sort of a bluesy, sort of like similar to I'm Broken off the Pantera Far Beyond Driven album. Real sludgy riffing. This isn't a blues song, like I said, that's it's not like old blues, it's like metal blues, you know. There's a few growls in this one. Now, any fans of this channel will know that I won't, you know, I don't like extreme vocals, growling Cookie Monster vocals, as people sometimes call it. You know what, this band sort of use it most of the time in the right way. They use it as usually when the main singer, Ray Parra's singing, you can slightly hear some growling from Jonathan Johnson over it. But it's used very subtly in the background, so it's not at the forefront, which I was happy about. You know, if the growling was just constant through the album, I think it would have changed my mind on it. But it's not. It's used very subtly most of the time. To tell you the truth, being honest, I'd rather not have the growling there at all. I think they're a better band than that. They don't need to do that. They're heavy enough as it is. Don't need to do that stuff. But it doesn't put me off the songs. You know, I just prefer it without. There's a brilliant guitar solo in Predator, actually. Like a wah-wah pedal used. Great one. Next, one of my favourite, a good track is Raising Cain. Like a power metal type riffing going on. Like an Iron Maiden type sound, but a bit heavier at the beginning. Cool guitar solo in this. Really melodic. I'd prefer the sort of more melodic songs. And talking about that, the next one is a great song. This, Shelter, is called. Along with Hands for War is my favourite song. This is another one I'll play you. More melodic, good harmonising backing vocals. So, you know, they've got sort of 80s, very, not much, but sort of a few 80s type melodic sort of riffs running through on this one. And you know what, they're going to take some influences from the bands they've been in. Ray Parra and Jonathan Johnson, ex-Sacred Warrior. You know, 80s stuff, innit? Early 90s. So, you know, they're going to have little nuances of that sort of stuff. But it is a sort of a modern sound, but with little tinges, you know, of classic sort of metal. But Shelter's a great song. Sort of odd time signatures a little bit in the chorus, but it's sort of like a nice atmospheric breakdown as well at the 3-minute mark. No solo on this one again, so only 2 songs with no solos. There's a couple of ones with growls, the next couple sort of growls on it, The Rise and Burning the World. Not sort of my favourite tracks. They're really aggressive, sort of pounding tracks, keeping up the aggression, definitely. But it closes off with a really cool song, Death Rattle. And you expect with that sort of title it'd be heavier than ever, but it is heavy, obviously. But sort of Pantera riffs again. Sorry to mention the influences, but I'm hearing it. Sort of a chugging, real chugging, heavy song. There's a little bit of growling with the singing at the same time on this one, but it's used really subtly and the way I like it. Sort of the voice of Ray Parra's up in front with slightly in the background. You can hear this sort of growling. But it's a great song to end with, and like a really heavy breakdown again, down style towards the end. Absolutely love that song, Death Rattle. So yeah, I'm going to play you a couple of little bits of this, and just so you can hear what I mean. So if you like your metal aggressive, but you don't like it extreme, you want it heavy, you know, these give it to you, these guys, they really do. So the first one I'm going to play you is Shelter. Listen to this, play a couple of minutes of this, see what you think. Heavy, really heavy. So here we go. This one's Shelter.
A dark and lonely road, so far from home, so cold it burns my skin, can feel it in my bones. How could I hear the chains that bind me, the voice that burns within comes to remind me. Take me above the madness. Someday my eyes will see. Take me into your presence. I haven't seen the sun in far too long. The constant grip of fear, it tries to steal my soul.
Was that heavy enough for you? So this next track is Hands for War. This is the one that Oz Fox does a bit of guest guitar work. I'm not sure if he's doing the solo on this, but this shows off the vocalist talents as well. Like I said, I've got some real Armoured Saint vibes in this, and they're a cool band. Great chorus in this, great solo. I probably won't play you all of it though, just a couple of minutes just to give you an idea what this one's like. This is Hands for War.
A hero in this war of the ages. Countless ones were lost along the way. Your name is high above the heavens. The earth will tremble at your words alone. Tremble.
Love that song. Absolutely love that song. So that's it. It's a bit of a surprise for me, you know, when you hear names like Ray Parra and Jonathan Johnson's Ex-Sacred Warrior, you know, you would expect that, I don't know, sort of classic power sort of metal maybe, you know, updated a little bit, but, you know, they really went for it on this, something completely different, and that's really cool. You know, to come out with something like this, it sounds fresh, it sounds modern, but it's got melody running through it at the same time. The only thing I would say is that I know they're working on a new album, you know. For me, if they drop the growls, it would just add that little bit extra to the album. But that's just my opinion. You know, in metal these days, a lot of people like that. They really like it, but it's not for me. I prefer singing, you know. But what you've got here, you've got Ray Parra, excellent vocalist, you know what I mean? And he's at the forefront. So big shout out again, yet again, to the drummer and the bass guitarist, Josh Johnson on drums. Remember, that's Jonathan Johnson's son. Blinding job. He does some brilliant double kick drums on this as well. Eric Keir on the bass. And I think Harbour Horton, who appeared on this record, you know, brilliant, all-round, excellent musicians. And you're going to get Jeffrey Rankin, the new guitarist, on the new album. So I can't wait to hear the new album. Don't know how long it's going to be, but they're working on it. So I hope you like this review. I hope you like the little snippets I played you. And, you know, go out and support this music. New band, they deserve your support. If you like your heavy metal, aggressive, but with melody, get it. All right, thanks for listening. Please subscribe. Bottom right hand corner, red button.